welcome to another episode of the Rise and Thrive podcast. I am so excited today because we got a special guest here. His name is Jeff Melis. Jeff has astounding history when it comes to personal training and in the fitness industry. He started way back when in Extreme. He has hosted and helped so many different trainers, managers, people that are all over the world. Realistically, this is someone that you want to listen to. Make sure you have a pen and pad and notebook, and just make sure you want to listen to this again because he's going to drop some nuggets for you. Okay. So Jeff, thank you for taking the time out to talk to me and really just share your insight and information.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I'm happy to be here. I love chatting about the industry and about knowledge, and so I'm really thrilled to have a great conversation with you.
Yeah, man. So let's get started with, I want to say you started back in Extreme, but can you tell me how did you get started in the fitness industry? Let's hear that origin story.
Yeah, it was kind of an accident, to be honest with you. So it was 2003. I had just finished playing football at Wilfrid Laurier University, and I was actually planning on going back and doing some more medical school, physiotherapy, something. And a buddy of mine was working at the Extreme Fitness. They did just popped open a temp center in Whitby. And so I had a semester off. It was winter and I had a semester off because I finished right after the football season had finished. And so he said, why don't you come over? I'll get you a job as a personal trainer. I did a kin degree, right? So I had the background and I got into personal training. So I interviewed, they gave me the job. I got a job as a personal trainer. And I had a really great fitness manager, and they showed me the opportunity in the fitness industry. So I was planning on going back to do more school or do something else. And after spending 6 months there, my fitness manager showed me the opportunity that, you can come to work every day in sweats and do what you love and still make good money and support your family and keep learning and growing and be passionate. And so I never ended up leaving. I just stayed. So here I am 20 years later, still in the fitness industry. And it was kind of just like, I was supposed to be a semester off and it was supposed to be a job for, 6-8 months. That's it.
That story happens all too often. I'm hearing from a lot of people. That's how they just stayed. That's really cool. So you're telling me you started at my club, the club I'm at now, in Whitby. What was that like from Extreme Fitness to I guess that journey from Extreme Fitness to GoodLife?
Yeah, it's been a long career, Manny. So we started in the temp center, same plaza as you, but the gym was maybe 2,000 square feet and it had just some basic equipment in it and a change room, no showers or anything. And, there was about 10 or so trainers and there was people signing up. They were showing them pictures of what the real gym was going to look like. And, we both started building the client roster. And then about 6 months later, or maybe a little less, they popped open this beautiful gym that you're working out of. And it was unlike anything in Durham region at the time. So this was now 2004. And most of the gyms in Durham region at that point in time were not that nice. Right. And so people were lining up to join. It was very busy in its first year. And when I started Extreme Fitness, I didn't know any different. It was my first job in the personal training industry. Prior to that, I had just university jobs and part-time jobs and working at warehouses and things like that. And so Extreme Fitness was my first real job. And so there I was in the fitness industry and I didn't know no better. And so I started as a personal trainer and I did a few years as a personal trainer. And then I decided to try my hands at personal training sales. So they had a job, a fitness consultant job. And so basically you only had 1 or 2 clients yourself personally, and you spent most of your day doing consults and you would pass those clients that signed up onto the other trainers. And so we had a big team at the time in that facility. We had over 30 trainers and there was about 4 or 5 fitness consultants that we were just meeting the new members every day and showing them the benefits of training. And so I tried that job. My manager thought I would be good at it. And turns out he was right. I did well. I ended up being number one in the company 2 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
And from there, I got promoted into management. And so they sent me out to North York to the Young and Shepherd Club as the assistant manager. And then I opened a club at Young and Dundas as the fitness manager, and then went back to that Young and Shepherd Club with Extreme Fitness as the fitness manager. And that was the biggest club in the chain. They were doing lots of volume, 500 memberships plus a month, new members coming in the door. We were doing over $4 million in personal training a year. I had a staff of about 44, 45 trainers. We
Wow.
had 4 or 5 nutritionists, 6 fitness consultants. I had 3 assistant managers working under me. And so it was a big machine at that location. And I spent 3 years managing and running that team. And so got a lot of experience, obviously, with such a large team and such
Yeah.
large volume coming through the doors, training all the staff and teaching them all have great careers in the fitness industry. And it was a lot of fun too. I enjoyed it. So I'm a lot of fun coaching people and watching them win in their careers. And so, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, man. So,
Then
yeah, continue.
So then I transitioned over to GoodLife Fitness. And so as the story goes, things were clicking along, and Extreme a couple of years earlier had been the majority share had been bought by an American company. And things were changing a little bit, and we could sense the tide in the clubs. We didn't know exactly what was going on, but we could sense the tide a little bit. And they pulled us in a room and they basically said to us, like, hey, we're having trouble, we're struggling. If the company doesn't get sold in the next 60 days, we're gonna have to put chains on the doors. And so
Oh,
that was
man.
pretty scary. At that point, I was 10 years deep in my fitness career. Spent all 10 years with Extreme Fitness. I had learned, from them on how to do things their way. And it was definitely stressful going through that, not knowing what the future lied ahead. And then GoodLife came in, as we know now, and they bought Extreme Fitness. And they took over the 13 clubs, absorbed the 13 clubs. And I ended up getting a promotion into the divisional manager job right away within GoodLife because they needed some more help having this many more clubs. And I spent 8 years as a divisional manager with GoodLife. And it was different. It was, getting used to a different sort of culture. Extreme Fitness was very much about, sales and volume. And, there wasn't the same culture at GoodLife. There's a little bit of sales in there, but it wasn't the same sales culture as it was in Extreme Fitness. And so, I had to be a little bit more adaptable to the new way of doing things. I had to adjust some of my ways of doing things. And, I just took it on to learn. I said, hey, well, what are the top people in GoodLife doing? Right. Like, I'm learning from my new boss. I'm learning from the top people in GoodLife. How are they acting? What are they talking like? What are they doing? What is their method? What are the strengths and weaknesses of their method? I just didn't have any preconceived notions about, well, I'm going to do things my way. I was like, no, this is the new company. I'm going to learn how to do things their way. They've obviously been successful. And if I can amalgamate, the things that I'm good at and I learned over the last 10 years, but add in what they're good at and what they're teaching me and use them both together, I thought I would have some success, and I did. And so I spent the next 8 years doing that and had a lot of fun, a lot of great relationships there, and people I'm still friends with. So I love my time there.
Amazing. So, so right now you led lots of sales teams and you've managed personal trainers for over decades. What sales strategies can you personal trainers use to attract their first clients?
Yeah, I mean, when people come in and they're brand new, they're just, going to be intimidated a little bit by sales. And I was too. I'm getting a job as a personal trainer, and I'm thinking I'm going to use, just my anatomy, my kinesiology stuff, and whatever. I had no idea there was going to be a sales component to the job, right? And it's uncomfortable at first. If you never worked in a sales job, which I had never had, I had labor jobs. To sit in front of someone and ask them for money can be intimidating the first time. And I was a little bit afraid of it. And you get used to it. And so that's my biggest advice to new trainers is to practice. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that you got to go out and gain the first client or the second client. People often have this fear of rejection. And that's what's driving or putting the pressure on them. Like if someone says no, that something real bad's going to happen to them or their life's going to be over or something, right? And it's
Yeah.
almost like that, they put that pressure on themselves that like this person's going to say no, I'm going to lose my job, my kids, I'm not going to be able to eat, nothing, right? But it's not that big a deal. People say no to things all the time. And so when you first come in as a new personal trainer, just look at these as practice reps, right? When you first started bench pressing or squatting, you're like, I know I'm not that good at this, but I know I'm going to get better if I keep going, if I keep trying, I keep practicing, keep showing up to the gym. And it's the same thing, right? So I always coach new trainers and I say, look, I'm not looking for you to go out there and sell. Don't go out there and necessarily say, I have to book an appointment or I have to close this person on personal training. I want you to use these as practice reps. What I want you to do is go out there and just meet people. So go out, meet people, practice having conversations about goals, about what they're doing for their workouts. If you do that, you'll see opportunities where you can help them. The reality of it is that there just has to be a gap in knowledge between the trainer and the client, right? So if you look at your gym floor, there's going to be clients at all different knowledge levels, right? Some advanced clients, there's going to be clients that have never worked out before, right? So you have this new trainer coming in, those clients that have never worked out before, they might be the right clients for them, right? Because there's a knowledge gap. There just has to be a gap between the trainer and the person that they're helping, right? And so if they go out and they meet people and they talk to people, they're going to see an opportunity to help people. I always said to my trainers that I was working with, I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine that you had a deck of cards, okay? And I'm going to pay you $500 if you flip over an ace. How many cards are you going to flip over, Manny?
Everyone. Every
Every
single
one of
one.
the cards, right? Because
Yep.
eventually you'll hit an ace. And I said, all those people on the gym floor right there, there's aces out there. We just don't know who they are. You got to go flip them over. And the way you flip them over is you go talk to them, right? So you go talk to them, you have a conversation with them, and if you feel like you have the opportunity to help them, that knowledge gap is present where you can teach them and show them some stuff, great. That's your ace. Now you can go. So that's the first thing I would say to them. The second thing was you're learning right now. Right now you're in a learning phase. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to let a lot of people say, no, thank you. It's okay. Don't worry about it. This is practice. We're practicing right now. It's exhibition game. It's not the game. It's exhibition. Okay. So if people say no, that's okay. But what I want you to do with this practice is I want you to get better. And how you do that is, number one, you're going to go up to the other trainers at the club and you're going to find out who's good at this, who's good at booking consults or getting people signed up. And you're going to ask to shadow them. You're going to ask to watch what they do. You're going to ask some questions. You're going to ask some strategies, right? This is going to be the learning time. And then when you go into those practice reps, you're going to implement some of the things you learn, some of the things that I'm going to teach you as your fitness manager, right? And then you're going to self-critique after every single consult that you do. Without that self-critique, without that coaching, without breaking it down and saying, okay, what could I have done better? Then it's not a practice rep, right? The practice rep comes when the coach gives feedback or there's feedback that happens. So that's the key part is that, we're going to do lots of practice reps. We're going to flip over lots of cards until we find some aces. But in the meantime, we're going to have that feedback loop happening. So each time, each rep gets a little bit better. And so that would be my advice to people in the beginning is like, when you're good, you're going to get more closes, right? You're going to get more people signing up. When you're first starting out and you're not so good, you're going to get lots of no's, but you're going to get lots of practice reps. You're going to do volume. Okay. And then if you want to do really well, you do both of those things.
That's really good. I'm going to have to take that card analogy. I like it. I always use the stone. If I told you there's a $10,000 check underneath a rock and there's a bunch of rocks outside, what would you do? And it's like, I'll flip it and find it. I'm like, well, that's what we got to do outside. But I like the card because it's easier to visualize. I'm going to have to use that. All right. So now you've recently found a personal training business support. Can you tell me more about that and what it is and what it is that you've built in terms of that platform and what you're doing with trainers?
Yeah, I just started that about a year ago, just a little over a year ago, the personal training business support. And it was kind of unintentional, much like my personal training career in the first place. So, I do a lot of things just kind of happen in my career, Manny. So as you know, I'm a co-founder of the Exercise Therapy Association. And so I've been doing that for the last 8 years. And we travel across Canada. We go to the US, we go to Europe, we teach courses, and we meet hundreds and hundreds of fitness professionals around the world. And, they ask a lot of questions, right? And so we interact with a lot of them and we're trying to figure out, okay, what are their biggest barriers? And so at Exercise Therapy, we're helping them with pain-free systems. We're giving them better assessments so they can get more people signed up. We're giving them better solutions so that they can help more people and create referrals, and keep clients longer. But one of the things that what wasn't getting covered in there is they were asking me about sales and they were asking me about how to market themselves. And so that kept coming up in conversation. So we do what's called the Saturday Night Social. We go out for dinner with our students. We hang out because we love our students. And so we're out at Saturday Night Social, we're chatting, and people are asking me about sales, about marketing, different things. And these were just questions that weren't getting answered. And so they kept coming up over and over again on the business side. And so I started to pay attention to like what else is out there, right? Where can they get this help? And I started to see that, today it's very common to have these like online coaching programs and those types of things. And I ended up signing up for a bunch of them. I wanted to see what kind of help are they giving. And so I spent thousands of dollars. I signed up for all these courses that are out there in the market and wanted to see, because I want to see what people are getting access to. And I'm a lifelong learner. I just want to keep learning myself too. And so what I realized is that, there's a lot of templated courses where it's like, here's a sales script or here's this template or, plug in this thing and this is how and it was all kind of automated. The goal of a lot of these courses are to get maximum customers through the course, right? So they want to make money. And so obviously, they don't do any one-on-one. They're getting max people through the courses and that's their goal. And the trainers weren't really getting any customized help or really one-on-one time with people. And, they're getting a lot of templated stuff and they were paying thousands of dollars for this, right? So, thousands of dollars and getting templates and things like that. And so, I just really wanted to help people. And that's where it came from, right? As I thought, I have this skill set. I did, a lot of leadership. I did a lot of sales for a lot of years. And then I built Exercise Therapy with my partner, Brendan. And, he is absolutely the smartest person that I've ever met when it comes to pain-free training on that side of things. And then I was responsible for the marketing and the sales and the business side of things. And I built that. So with all those experiences combined, I thought I can help some people here. And so that's how I started personal training business support. And it just started with newsletters. So it would pop out newsletters every week on different topics, social media, marketing, sales, all different types of things. People started asking more and more questions. And so what I did is I pivoted that to a monthly training. And so I wanted people to get more customized help. And so now I do a monthly free training where people can show up or they can submit questions in advance. And we go on Zoom for 90 minutes. And I'll have a training topic picked out for 45, 50 minutes. And we'll go through that together. People jump in, ask questions related to their own business. And then we do a Q&A at the end that's open forum on any of their business needs. And so, that's really what it's for is just to help people out. Those trainings are free. I also do some one-on-one coaching with people. I charge for the one-on-one coaching, but I charge something that's very affordable, because I'm not doing it for the money. I'm really doing it because I want to help people. So I make it very affordable. Most personal trainers that are working for you or they're working, as solopreneurs, or maybe they run a little studio or a gym, they don't have tens of thousands of dollars to spend on this stuff. And so, I make it very affordable for them to work with me. If they want to work with me one-on-one and get more customized help. Otherwise, they can come into the group stuff and get all their questions answered there too. The one-on-one stuff's just a little bit more customized, a little bit more FaceTime. Some examples of this is like, I've talked to people about social media topics as an example, right? So one of the things that we did a training on was, social media as a tool, as a business owner, right? And so if you're a personal trainer, you're a business owner, right? Like even if you work at GoodLife with Manny, like you have to run your own client roster. You have to, do your own consults and sales and renew your people and stuff. You get some guidance from Manny. That's the benefit, right? But you are running your own little business within the business. And then you have people that are working out of homes or little studios, right? And so they often get all this stuff on social media about like they have to, follow the trends or here's how to go viral and things like that. And it's because, often people don't understand the difference between using social media as a tool as a business owner and being an influencer, right?
Yep.
And so we did a training on that. We talked about like, look, if you want to be an influencer, that's a different business model, right? That's its own business model, right? Most of the people that I'm working with are not influencers. They're trainers. They just need to fill a client roster. What's that? 15 people,
Yep.
right? And so you're not using it to get 4 million views or things like that. You're using your social media as a tool, as a lead generation tool, right? So you can fill your 15 spot roster. And that's a very different thing than, the social media advice that's going out to say, like, let's go viral and get millions of views. And so we talked about, what are the differences? We answered questions on how they can use it as a tool. And one of the clients I work with personally, was like, I don't even like social media. So we customized that. We said, this client's a little bit older. They said, I don't love doing social media. And so we said, we're going to run your business without social media. You don't need it. It's a tool. If you want to use different marketing methods and tools. And so this particular woman doesn't use social media at all and filled her client roster and just reported back to me not too long ago, about 3 or 4 months ago, that she actually has a waiting list now and doesn't post on social media ever. Right. And is an
Wow.
independent business owner. And so, those are the types of things that we go through at the training. And so, as I'm just doing it to help people out, because I want to give them quality advice from someone that's, been in the industry. I find that, I'm not throwing holes at anybody. I don't want to talk bad about anything, but, I do see at times where there's people that are running these coaching programs or they're business coaches in personal training, and they've never actually been on the front lines as a personal trainer, right? Or
Yep.
they've never built a roster or a business within personal training. And so, when I'm giving people advice, it's just coming from, someone that's built a roster, done personal training sales, built a business in personal training, and has had success over the last 20 years. And so I want them to get advice from someone who actually has been in the industry. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just helping people out.
Yeah. I completely agree with you because I've gone down that same rabbit hole trying to see that. And this is one of the reasons I started my podcast. I'm like, huh, I'm having the same questions for my trainers. I'm like, okay, so this can't be, and I've been doing this for like 10 years now. I've heard the exact same questions every single time I get new trainers. So it's like, okay. And in fact, the questions now are different. Because I find the gap is huge in terms of the communication skills. And then also in terms of like the being able to just go up and talk to people and just work with people and like thinking about, okay, I'm a business owner. I'm coming from this job that might be like a clerk or working as a waiter or working at McDonald's. And it's like, okay, so now you're a business owner now. What are you going to do? And a lot of trainers have that gap where they come in and like, I don't know. It's like, well, I'm not getting paid anymore, so I'm going to leave. It's like, yeah, that doesn't matter when you own your own business. Like, it's like, if you're not gonna you're not eating if you don't work, but you're also not, but it's not even like you're not eating. I think Brian Tracy said the way you got to think about it is that you're unemployed until you're sitting in front of somebody. If you're not sitting in front of somebody, you're unemployed. And it's like, huh, changes the mindset. It's like, yeah, you have a job at GoodLife Fitness, but you're not actually employed until someone says, here's my money, I want to train with you for 6 to 12 months, and I'll be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time. And it's like, there's your employment for Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7. So now you just got to do it again for 6 and 8, and then Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday and everything else. So that's really good. I like that. So I'm definitely going to drop that in the comment section, not the comment section, in description section, so people can reach out to you for that, because I definitely know personal trainers need help with that and definitely need to grow, and having more resources like that it's very powerful. So let's get into exercise therapy, because that's what I want to say, that's what you're really well known for right now, traveling the world, teaching people about rehabilitation, teaching people about injury prevention. I took your course, it was amazing. I got my trainer still doing it. I love the assessments, I love the way people are feeling, I love it for myself too. So can you tell me, in terms of it, for trainers, new personal trainers, how important is it to understand rehabilitation and injury prevention in their coaching and in their training?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. It's very kind. My partner Brendan Fox, as I had mentioned, he's the smartest guy I ever met. He developed the system. So he was working at a medical clinic in Toronto, and we both did kinesiology degrees, and we're just finding not everything worked the way they said it would in school, right? So not everything was going exactly how they said, and so he ended up doing a lot of education over the next decade, and doing a lot of research, and took every opportunity to learn, and then applied at the clinic where he was alongside, doctors and physios and all that stuff. And he developed this system that we now teach at Exercise Therapy. And it's based on pain-free training, right? And so we think it's really important, for trainers to understand this stuff. And the reason is, we've got to meet the demands of the clients, what the clients want, right? And so if you look at what's happening, and people are living longer, right? So the average lifespan right now is about 82 to 84, give or take, male or female, right? But not only that, people don't just want to hit 84, right? But they want to be able to have a quality of life. They want to have health span, right? So health span is saying, I can do at 80 what I used to be able to do at 50, right? And so people want to be able to be active. They want to go hiking. They want to be able to play with their grandkids and still do the things that they need to do, right? And so in order to do that, we have to help people with aches and pains, right? That's just part of life, right? So we have to prevent injury. We have to help them with their aches and pains. And we have to make sure that their body functions the way that it's supposed to so they can go upstairs at 80 years old, right? And that going upstairs at 80 years old doesn't start at 78, it starts at 40, right? It's about muscle mass. It's about joint repair. It's about understanding how to keep your body in alignment and take care of it and build strength and muscle on a good foundation of alignment so that you can do those things. You got to start taking care of yourself at 40, at 50 to do things at 80, right? One of the things that we just discovered was this is like, I was working in big box gyms most of my career. And, when you look around the gym floor, if you walk out of your office, you look at the gym floor and you think to yourself, okay, how many people on this gym floor right now are bodybuilders, right? How many of them are going to be power lifters? Or, how many professional athletes do we have walking in the doors of our gyms, right? But a lot of the education is geared towards that, right? A lot of the education is geared towards like hypertrophy or powerlifting or, things that just don't apply to the public that's walking in and out the gym door. And so we noticed that if we could help trainers and give them the skills to say, we're going to help you work with your population. These people that are walking out in and out of the gym floor, like they just want to be healthy, right? They maybe want to lose a little bit of weight, but they want to have energy. But the main thing is they want to be able to show up for their families, show up for work, do the things they love on weekends. The weekend warriors go hiking and obstacle race running on the weekend. And in order to do that, they just need to have functioning bodies and to be able to take care of it. And so those are the skills that trainers need to excel at because they meet what the clients want, right? And so clients just don't have the time to be out with aches and pains, right? It's time out of the gym where they're not getting results and also the trainer's not seeing their client. But it's also time out of their life where they can't take their kid to soccer, right? They can't do the things that they love. If you look at the medical system, if you want to get referred to a specialist for some kind of knee pain, it's going to take you, 2-3 months to get in front of that person before they even see you. And that's just too long to be out of it, right? And so if we can have our trainers specialize in injury prevention, restoring function, helping people get rid of aches and pains, you're meeting the demands of the client and the trainers opening themselves up to the biggest opportunity of business to build their client roster. Because a very limited portion of the gym floor is going to be athletes or power lifters and things. But most of the gym floor is going to be people that have aches and pains. And if you specialize in that, you're going to have a lot of people to choose from when you go out on that gym floor, right? And so that's why we decided this was a great area to focus in. And I think that's why it's been so popular, is because it really is helping trainers cater to what the clients they see every single day and give them the skills to excel at that.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Especially at my gym, there's like a mixture population of like young people bodybuilding, and then you got your old people, or I'd say older. I'm old. I'm like 39 now, and your geriatrics at the gym. But you got your guys that are like in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're more like, okay, I just want to be functional. I want to be healthy. I want to make sure that I don't get injured. And I even met someone after I did your course. I met someone that had like a back injury. I was working with a chiropractor, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's check it out. Found out just some dysfunction in his hip. I'm like, okay, so here's how you can rectify that. Change it up, show him some of the protocols that we did, and it's like oh, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm like, wow, look at that. So now imagine that for the rest of your life. How's that going to help you? How's that going to make you even feel better? You want to play with your kids? All right, well, this is going to be very important. So definitely I can see that being a very important thing for trainers, but not just trainers, like the entire world. So good on you guys for doing that and starting that, because once again, it's a gap, but it's needed for us as trainers because we are meeting people. We're living longer and we want to be healthy.
And also the industry is evolving, right? So, starting in 2003, 20 years ago, um, the industry was very young and it still is, right? Like if you look at the industry, what does it date back to 1980-ish, give or take? What are we, 40 something years old? That's
Yeah.
very young. Doctors' professions are hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old. A lot of the other professions are very old. Our profession's very young. And so it's natural that it's going to evolve, right? The skill
Yeah.
sets that people are going to need to do, the things that we deliver as a service, it's very natural that it's going to evolve, especially in its infancy. And we're still going to be in its infancy for a little while.
Yeah. I never think about it like that. Like I think about so I think about like Tim Grover, who was working in a Bally's in 1980. And you think about like Bally's in 1980. What was that like? And it's like kin degree, graduated from University of Illinois, and it's like wow. But then that guy goes on to train Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and all these other people. And you're like, huh. So like as a personal trainer, you don't think about the infancy of our industry and where it's the fitness industry as a whole, but even just as their job or career as personal trainer, it's like we are still evolving and adapting. And we're like, I think one of the things I talk to about with people is always like industry standards across the board. It's like we're still making those things. It's like how like to be a personal trainer, what's the code of ethics? What is the code of conduct? What do you need to be doing? How do you train your clients? How do you keep client profiles? How do you keep all these different things? And across the board, we're still working on adapting towards these things.
Absolutely. And it's getting better, Manny, every day, right? Like, when I first came a trainer, they just said, here's a t-shirt and a name tag, have fun, right? And so we have a lot of systems now in place to help people, a lot better schooling, a lot more courses, a lot better structure that you're providing to people where you're like, no, when you come, I'm going to show you these things and this is how we're going to do it. And so we're getting better every day as an industry. It's just that we're young, so we're going to be growing fast.
Okay. So here's a question. In terms of the personal training industry, what would be the biggest challenge that personal trainers face in today's landscape? And how do you think they can overcome them?
Yeah, I honestly think there's two main challenges that people probably face, and the first one is confusion. Okay. So we've always kind of battled confusion because as I said, they gave us a t-shirt and a name tag and they said have at her. And so we were confused, we weren't sure what to do. So I think there's always an element of confusion no matter when you start in an industry and get started. But I think this confusion has been exaggerated by the overload of information. Information is good, but too much information leaves people paralyzed and unsure which direction to go and what to do. And I think that's what's kind of happening now, with the prevalence of, podcasts and social media and, all these different courses and YouTube and this and that and the other. Now information is coming out, at a million times what it did 20 years ago or even more. And so what happens is people get confused. Personal trainers get confused. Who should I listen to? This person's saying that, and that person's saying this. Every day on social media, there's tips being posted, and then on podcasts, they're telling you something different and what you should do here and there. And so I think confusion is one of the biggest battles when you get into the industry is just, get where do I get confused? And so personal trainers need to overcome this with just discernment. And discernment just means have a process for evaluating what you listen to and what you're willing to learn and who you're going to learn from. You have to have mentors in the industry. You have to have people that you look up to and learn from. That's kind of been the way in any industry. And so when you look at choosing a mentor, you have to ask like, does this person doing what I'm going to do? Right. So if somebody's there working with you, obviously you've done what they're going to do, right? But if they're choosing a mentor that's on social media or a course provider or a podcast, did that person train that same population, or did that person work with like Olympic athletes, right? Because the information is going to be very different depending on the population that they work with. There's a lot of different factors at play, right? So that's the first thing is that person do what I want to do? Are they working with the same type of people that I'm going to work with? And then they have a track record of success doing the job I'm going to do, right? And so that's what we were talking about earlier is that, people are coaching others, but they haven't actually built a business in the industry. And it's so you want to learn from people that have been on the front lines, that have done what you're doing and have shown a track record of success. They've built a full client roster. They mentor people, they've trained hundreds or thousands of sessions, and they've done the PT sales, or they've been a leader and they've developed other leaders if your goal is to get into the leadership. And so that's the key, is just, being discerning about where you accept information from, and, doing a little background check. You can see something on social media and it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's the starting point of learning, right? Which means now if I see something that I think is interesting on a podcast or social media, that's the starting point of learning. I don't implement it right away. I got to do my homework now. I have to use this discernment or this wisdom to say, I'm going to now do my research on what is this person saying? Is that actual thing? Is there other, people saying the same thing that I trust and are validated? And then you go through what we teach at Exercise Therapy, is a principle called truth through experience, which means I'm going to apply it. I'm going to beta test it with a few people or even myself. I'm going to see, does it work in the real world? And if it doesn't work in the real world, maybe you need to throw it out, right? And say, okay, that just didn't work. Or maybe there's a piece of the puzzle I'm still missing still. But if it does work, then great. Then you can slowly implement it more and more and more. And so that's one of the keys here is that, people are being overwhelmed with information. They get confused, they're jumping into different things. Well, maybe this club's better or that club's better, or maybe I should be an online coach, or maybe I should start my own program or whatever. And so, they get confused and they have to have a process of discernment to say, okay, how am I evaluating the information that I get so that I can apply it? So I think that's the first big challenge that a lot of people face. I think the second is going to be focus. Okay. So, it is largely caused by the first problem, this overload of information and a lot of sensory information being thrown at you every day. But we got to focus for a period of time. Right. And so, I often encourage people to understand their priorities and their values first, because if you don't know that, how can you focus, right? And so when you look at your career as a personal trainer, what's important to you? What do you value most, right? And that's going to change over your career. It did for me anyway, right? And that's okay, as long as you're regularly evaluating your priorities and your values. If you don't know your priorities, it makes it very hard to focus. And then you start jumping around. You start saying, well, I'm going to go work at this club, or I'm going to go open my own studio, or I'm going to go do this and this and this. And then you end up not having success because you didn't commit to anything for a long enough period of time to go through the ups and downs and the challenges that come with being successful, right? Being successful comes from failing. It comes from learning the hard way, right? And every professional athlete will tell you that. Anybody that's ever built a business will tell you that. Like, it wasn't easy. They failed. They went through struggles, and that's where they succeeded, as they learned things. And so if you don't commit to something, if you don't focus on a particular path for enough period of time, you don't go through the challenges and struggles that shape your future for you. Okay. And so we need to commit to something for a period of time. It doesn't mean forever. It means for a period of time, and run an experiment and say, I'm going to go 100% on this experiment for the next 12 to 18 months. I'm going to commit for 18 months. I'm going to go to this club. I'm going to work there. But when you say that, I mean 100% commitment, not just on the days when you feel like it. It's not like, I'm going to go work for Manny and listen to him on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm going to do my own thing. You know what I mean? Because now you're not giving it a fair shot, right? So if you say, I'm going to go work with Manny, I'm going to work with him for 18 months. I'm going to do everything he asked me to do. I'm going to read all the books, take all the courses. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get up early because he told me to. I'm going to stay late. I'm going to do the things that he asked me to do. And I'm going to commit for 18 months. And in that 18 months, I'm going to have a date in my calendar that I'm going to reevaluate, but not until that point. And at the 18-month mark, I can look at myself in the mirror and said, I committed. I did everything I could. I worked as hard as I could. I did everything that he asked me to do. And what's the results of that experiment?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have different phases in your career. I definitely had different phases in your career. But what it means is that you're going to be focused for a long enough period of time to pull out the learning from that experience and give that experience a fair shot to succeed so you can decide on what's next in your life, right? So it starts with getting clear on your priorities and values because that can just help you decide where do I want to be? What's important to me, right? And that can decide, what environment you want to be in. As I said, I work with Extreme Fitness. It was a sales type company. I was in a sales type role, right? So that's the best place to learn it is in a sales company, right? And so what's the environment that I want to be in that align with the values or the things that I'm trying to learn right now and make that commitment, right? So when I jumped into that sales role, I went over from personal training. I was a personal trainer, didn't know I was ever going to do sales, right? I said, as I talked about, I never sold a thing in my life before I got into that job. But after training for a while, I got decent at it. My manager thought it would be good. And I said, I'm going to run an experiment. I'm going to commit for a year. And I went into that job. I worked 6, 7 days a week for 11 months straight. And, I didn't take any time off. I worked my butt off. I did everything my manager asked me to do. And the result of that experiment was I ended up being number one in the whole company. And then after that 11 months, I took a little bit of time off, took a break, and went back at it, right? And so I'm not saying people should do what I did. I'm just saying, like, if you commit for a period of time and you go all in and you learn as much as you can, it's going to help you focus, and that's going to give you a better result in the long run.
It's really good. Yeah, because I think the attention span of the average millennial or Zoomer or whatever they call themselves. No, what are they called? The Gen Z and the Gen Alpha. Those guys, they do not have a big attention span. So 18 months to someone that is 20 sounds like, oh man, I'm gonna be 21 and a half. It's like your life hasn't even started yet, man. And it's like in 18 months, I'm telling you, you be like in this company in GoodLife, in 18 months, I could take someone from a level 1 trainer all the way to potentially a level 4 within 18 months. So you'll go from making $25 an hour to $41 an hour. And it's like, in what place, career, could you do that fast? And there's not a
Absolutely.
lot. And so it's
Absolutely.
wild to think about that. Like if you just like put your head down, 18 months, give yourself that much time. That's a new challenge. And I'm gonna have to use that in my interview process. Give me 18 months.
Well,
I guarantee I'll make you money.
Well, that's one of the reasons I never left. So over the last 20 years, with the company going under and different things, obviously there's been ups and downs over the 20 years. And there was multiple opportunities to leave the industry. So, there was a time I got headhunted by a biomedical sales company and a financial company and different things. And I ended up never leaving the industry. And there's a couple of key reasons for that, right? And I think I should highlight that there because there's probably a lot of people that work with you, personal trainers, that are like, is this the right industry for me? Right. And
Yeah.
there's two key reasons that I never left the industry. Number one is I really, really enjoy helping people, whether it's clients or mentoring other fitness professionals. And I didn't want to be in a career where it was just like exchanging a good, right? Or good or service, like I'm going to sell you a microwave or whatever, a thing. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make an impact in the world. And so that was one of the reasons that I didn't leave. The other reason is I told you I had a good fitness manager when I first started, and they showed me the opportunity. The opportunity that they showed me is you can give yourself a raise whenever you want in this industry, right? And how
Yeah.
many industries can you do that? Like if you go to an
None.
office job, it's like, okay, at the end of the year, you're going to get a 2% raise or whatever, or any raise. In the fitness industry, you can always give yourself a raise whenever you want. You can level up, right? You can change the amount that you're charging. You can take on a new client. You can add a new service, right? So you can always give yourself a raise in this industry whenever you want. So, combine that with the impact that you have on people. That's one of the reasons I never left, and I'm still here over 20 years later.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to one more question. So this one's like more of a personal life in terms of, because this is a big one for a lot of trainers, because the aspect of what we just described was working 18 months, putting your head down, putting your thing. How do you balance having a personal life and also business success and also personal growth and self-improvement, right? What advice do you have for trainers that are aiming to like really balance that whole aspect of what they're doing in life?
Yeah, I love this question because when I was a manager, a leader, it came up all the time. The slogan work life balance. I heard that slogan more times than I care to remember, Manny. And so, you
Yeah.
know, here's the truth. Here's the truth about it is this. Okay. There's no such thing as work life balance. There's work life harmony. And that comes from Tony Robbins. Okay. So Tony
Mhm.
Robbins talked about, work life harmony. And what that means is that there's never a balance. There's always different things going on in your life. If you had a family situation and your kids needed you or your wife needed you or whatever, right? That would have to take precedence for a little while. We don't know how long, but it would have to take precedence. It's not balance. It's you responding to what's going on in your life and showing up for what you need to do, right? So you would never
Yeah.
say, well, my kid's sick, but I need to balance that out with some work, right? So, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Yep.
So there's never balance. It's about creating harmony with all the pieces in your life. Okay. And that's the thing is, and if you go back to understanding your values and priorities, that's a big thing for finding this balance, right? Or finding this work-life harmony. And so there's not going to be harmony. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be periods where you're going to work harder and you're going to work longer, right? So, I told you I worked 11 months straight, no vacation, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, no time off, worked holidays even, right? I don't do that now, right? So it's not something that's forever. I'm not saying commit to this schedule forever. I said, I'm going to commit for a year. I'm going to do this for a year, right? And so one of the things that people don't look at when they look at work-life balance is they use, too short of a schedule, right? So they're trying to think about in a day, I need work-life balance, or in a week or in a month. Well, how about in a decade? Work-life balance in a decade or 2 decades, right?
Mhm.
And so, that's a better way to look at it, that over a decade or 2 decades or over a year, even, if you look at the ebbs and flows of a trainer's schedule over a year, there's going to be a natural dip in December when clients are on vacation. So you're going to do the best you can, but you're going to enjoy yourself too. You're going to spend a little bit of extra time with friends and family, right? During the summer,
Yep.
there's a little bit of a dip when clients are on vacation. You're going to take a little bit of vacation. You're going to do some things that you love, right? You're going to spend extra time with friends and family during that time. So again,
Yep.
it's not about creating balance. It's about creating harmony about all the pieces of your life that are important to you and making sure that you create balance over long periods of times, over a year, 5 years, or a decade. My first decade, I probably worked a lot. I probably put in some pretty heavy weeks most years. And now I'm 20 plus years in. I still work really hard. We travel around the world, but we have ebbs and flows, right? So we don't teach any courses in December or January. So we get a little bit of downtime there. We didn't teach any in August. We get a little bit of downtime there. So again, it's about finding harmony within all the elements of life. And so that's what I often try and coach people on and saying, okay, don't look at it from a narrow view. Open up your view, right? The other things is, it's about understanding priorities and saying is like using your priorities to make your decisions for you. So you mentioned personal growth. I've believed in personal growth my entire career. I've always been taking courses and seminars, not just on the science side, but on business. During the pandemic, we were off. So I took, I spent over $10,000 in digital marketing courses and things like that because I was like, hey, this digital thing is going to be a thing, right?
Yep.
I'm going down. I'm spending a lot of money to go down and take a course, flying down to the U.S. to take a course in December. It hasn't stopped. It's a lifelong journey. So I believe in personal growth, but again, it comes down to priorities, right? So if personal growth is a priority to you, how can you create harmony within your life where you are, you know, taking care of things, taking care of your family, taking care of what needs to care of, working what you need to work, seeing your family, but also work that harmony in. I'm going to take this course in December because again, ebbs and flows. We're going to hit a little bit of a down period, and I can get away for that, right? And then when
Yeah.
we look at creating balance or harmony, how much are people spending on vacations, right? Or how many they spend per year on vacations or entertainment, going to the club, going to the festival in the summer or concerts, right? And how much are you investing in your education? Great balance there, right? If you're spending 10% of your income or 15% of your income per year on taking vacations and all the fun things, well, then you gotta spend 10-15% of your income every year on education too, right? Like you gotta create that harmony or balance. Or And this is okay too. You gotta say personal growth is not a priority for me, and that's okay. If you just say, hey, it's not important for me, personal growth is not important to me, and you just put it off to the side. But don't say it is and then not, act in accordance with it, right? So that's my biggest thing is like, taking all the things that are like important in your life, your relationships, your spirituality, your health, your work, everything, and you create harmony within it. And you create ebbs and flows, knowing that you're going to have not ever have a balance, but there's going to be certain days, certain months, certain years and periods we're going to spend more in each and be okay with that. Because when you are at harmony, when you are okay with that, everything else gets your full attention, everything gets better, right? Because you're not wishing you were somewhere else or doing something else. You're not saying, I wish I wasn't working so late, or I wish I were working less. You're like, no, this is my year to grind. I'm here, I'm working, and you're going to enjoy it, right? And when you're on
Yeah.
vacation, you're not thinking about work. Everything gets its own attention, and everything in your life gets better by creating that harmony.
Yeah, that's so true. That's really good. One last bonus question.
Okay.
This is more of a question towards new trainers. Okay. What are the types of courses that you think a trainer should take when they're brand new? So it's like 18 months. What are 5 courses they should be taking? Exercise therapy
Well,
level 1.
yeah, obviously. Yeah, you got to round yourself out, right? So
Yeah.
I think that when you're brand new, you should be learning a little bit of everything, right? Because you don't know exactly what you want to specialize in. You don't know where your career is going to take you. And so I believe in rounding yourself out, especially in the beginning, and then you can sort of like plant your flag somewhere, right? So I learned a lot of different things, West Side Barbell, and all different types of things when I first started. And then eventually I planted my flag in this particular area of pain-free training and working with people on business and things like that. Right. But that didn't come till later. So I think that people should round themselves out. And when I say round yourself out, I include the business side of things because that will help you for the rest of your career, right? So if I've got a new trainer that's coming in, they're saying, what should I learn, right? Because, courses is one way to learn, but there's a lot of different ways to learn. So what should I learn as a new trainer? I would say, okay, so let's, take some courses that are assessment-based courses that are going to help you, in your consults and when you're dealing with clients, be able to assess and create some sort of solution for them, right? Let's take some sort of programming course that levels up your skill at like, more in-depth programming. And then let's pick another area that you like. And it could be, more hypertrophy, it could be powerlifting. We're going to round it out. It could be kettlebells, doesn't matter. But let's round you out and get you a bunch of different knowledge. In addition to that, I might encourage people to take some sort of psychology-based course, right? And the reason for that is the conversations that we have with people are so impactful, right? And one of the things that we do at Exercise Therapy is we teach what's called mental toughness, right? We give the trainers that come to our course tools to coach people on their mindset shifts. And that's the psychology piece. It's such an important piece. And so I would want the trainer to learn some sort of psychology piece. And when I say psychology, I mean like, how to talk to people, how do people think? How do you motivate people? Something in that ballpark there. And then the last piece would be something on their business. And it can be around marketing, it could be on sales, it could be around leadership. But I would round it out that way so that they get a little bit of everything, especially early in their career. And then they can sort of build on it and specialize in different areas. But when you're first getting started, you do want to be a little bit well-rounded. And so that you have the opportunity to pivot, adapt until you're ready to plant your flag somewhere.
Thank you, Jeff. That is so true. All right. So, Jeff, before you take off, where can everybody find you?
Well, everybody can find me in the usuals online. So I am with Exercise Therapy Association. So you can look at our socials at Exercise Therapy Association, or you can look at my personal social at Jeff_Melis_. Okay, on Instagram as well. You can go to the Exercise Therapy website to find me, or you can go to the Personal Training Business Support website, and you can opt in and get the free trainings there. So any of those things, you can find me. I'm not hard to find. And, I'd love to connect with everyone that listens to it. I love connecting with Fit Pros, which is why I do all these different things. And I just want to say to you, Manny, thanks for having this conversation. I love you. You're a beaut. whenever I get the opportunity to see you in person, and we always have a great conversation. And I know you're doing great things out there, and the trainers that work with you, man, they're lucky to have you as a mentor. And that's what I always say to people, with personal trainers. They ask me from time to time because I'm not in clubs anymore. They're like, "Oh, should I work for this company or that company or this club or that club?" I'm like, "Look, if you get a good leader, somebody that cares, that teaches you, that's invested to help you, don't ever leave that person." And I know from spending some time with you that your trainers are lucky enough to have you as a mentor, that you care, you're invested in them, and you're always trying to help them learn. And so they're lucky to have you. So thanks for having me, man.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Well, that's it, guys, for this episode of Rise and Thrive podcast. If you like this episode, make sure you share it with a friend. You know what to do. Take it easy. Peace.